everyone, and welcome to this exciting session that will deal about how to nurture the next generation of leader. My name is Sarah Sadouk. I'm the Director of Innovation at Entrepreneur Impact, which is the innovation board of the American publication Entrepreneur.com. Today, it's my honor to moderate this session because entrepreneurship is at the core of our passion. And it's my honor to moderate this fireside chat with one of the most dynamic next generation leader, Mr. Ali Sajwani. Ali has started his journey in the family business, Damac at the time, at the age of 10. And he immersed himself in the financial and operational workings of the company. Today, he's the managing director of Operation and Technology at Damac Properties, where his leadership has transformed operation and propelled innovation, from digital transformation to the launch of the cutting-edge ventures like the Damac Metaverse. Beyond Damac, Ali has co-founded Amali Properties with his sister, Amira Sajwani, further establishing himself as a visionary in the luxury real estate. So without further ado, Ali, let us dive into the exciting topic of what it takes to balance the legacy of a family business and the need to innovate and adapt in today's fast-evolving business landscape. So let us start from the beginning. You started your career, I should say, at the age of 10, which is quite young for most of us. Can you share how those early experiences have shaped your understanding of business and leadership?
So, I'm quite lucky, alhamdulillah. I come from a very entrepreneurial family. I remember back 20 years ago, the weekends in Dubai were Thursday and Friday. And for us to go and have fun with our friends on Friday, we'd have to be in the office all day Thursday. My father works 7 days a week till today, no breaks. And at a very young age, back then, there was no Damac Properties, it was Damac Capital.
Yeah.
My father was a large investor in the US markets at the time, and the Omani markets also, the GCC markets were going through a boom. And I remember he taught me at a very young age how to read balance sheets, how to read income statements. When I was 11 years old, I had a dummy portfolio, and I had to compare the balance sheets of different banks, look at the different margin profiles, return on equity, etc. And using my dummy portfolio, I had to invest in these companies. And really, my allowance was linked to my performance. If I did well and my companies did well, I'd keep those profits, and that's how I would be able to spend money. And when I was 22 in Boston, in university, the courses I was doing, I had that information 12 years ago from working with my dad, from getting trained at a very young age. And that really instilled a certain work ethic in me and a lot of attention to detail. You know, in life, everything is about attention to detail. It's what separates you apart from your competition. And I couldn't be more thankful to him for what he did for me, teaching me at a very young age about working and having the correct work ethics.
Thank you so much. And these are very essential skills. Developing it at a very young age built the next generation of leader. You're a living proof. So let us go to your journey at Damac, how you started and how you climbed the ladder. So you had a unique journey at Damac. You started from construction site, sales, and to eventually lead major operation. Can you please tell us how those experiences have shaped your approach to leadership?
So I started at Damac Properties when I was 16 years old. I remember we used to have our product launches every Thursday at the Medina Jumeirah Auditorium, and I used to lead those launches. So I used to be on stage, I used to present the product. I learned during that experience about pricing, how to design buildings, how to focus on the views, designing the correct layouts, focusing on the customer experience, really putting yourself in the customer's shoes. I went through procurement, training and marketing, etc. while I was still in university. In 2014, when I graduated from Boston and came back, the first thing my father did was he put me on the construction sites. I spent 2.5 years on the construction site. At the time, it was the biggest project we had, Paramount Towers. 1,200 apartments, 800 hotel room building. And I was there on site. I started reporting to the project manager. And by the end of the project, I was managing that project. And really, you learn so much on the ground that you don't learn in theory. So learning how to manage the politics between the contractor, the project management team at Damak, and the consultants. Learning all the tricks of the trade. Learning on the ground how do contractors try to play around, how do they try to deviate from the scope, etc., was an essential learning experience. Once I finished my training on the construction sites, I came into sales and marketing. I managed that till 2020. Post-COVID, I took over operations, technology, transformation, essentially everything non-sales. In the group today, I handle non-sales, and my sister Amira handles the sales channels. And in the past couple of years, the heavy focus has been on transformation. Damak is a very entrepreneurial-led company, and the idea is how can we institutionalize the organization over the next few years so family members don't have to play as much of an operational role. We can focus more on the strategy of the company, but it's about building the correct processes and guidelines in the company so management can really take the company forward.
Okay. So you touched point on a couple of things that are essential to teach the next leaders. What would be your recommendation for any organization or any school, or at perhaps a higher level, what the next generation needs to learn, and what is the gap currently?
I'll tell you, I have, coming from a business family, I have a lot of friends and acquaintances from business families as well. The biggest gap that happens, in my opinion, is sometimes the business families don't involve the younger generations at a young age. So these kids, they go to school, they come from top universities, but they enter the business at the age of 23 or 24. They're given managerial positions, but they don't really know the nitty-gritty details of the business. In university, they teach you how to delegate, and we don't believe in that style of management whatsoever. When we go into a department, we start from the ground up. We learn the department. We spend months, sometimes a year or more in the department before we end up taking over the department. That's a big gap today. When you're put into the business and given a big position and you don't know the details of the business, your management team will take you for a spin. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's looking out for their own interests. And I'm sorry, they will just BS you if you don't know what they're talking about. And I think that's a big reason a lot of family businesses, specifically at the third generation, fail. The second generation, usually, the patriarch has trained his kids. But when it comes to the third generation, people are very comfortable. And I think that's a big gap. And also the education system. Like I said, what I learned at 10 years old, they tried teaching me again when I was 22, which shows you don't need to be so old to learn finance, etc. You should be taught those key topics at a young age when you're in school, not when you're 23 in university.
That's very powerful, actually. You learn the skills from a very young age of what you will apply as an adult. So it made sense, I guess, for you as a kid to apply those skills and for the future. So if you're going back to the Damak, your role at Damak, you bridge the gap between innovation, family business, and we know that sometimes in family business, there is a culture that is difficult to break, right? But you came with very innovative projects, such as the Damak Metaverse. Can you please tell us what inspired this move and how it has changed the way Damak interacts with customers?
So the Damak Metaverse came during COVID. The idea of the Metaverse was actually as a sales channel, a further enabler. When COVID happened, the world shut down. So we sat and we thought, okay, sales offices are closed, airports are closed. We still need to drive revenue. We still need to make money. How do we do that? So we came up with this idea of selling online. At the time, everyone on the management team opposed us. They said, people buy a T-shirt, pair of shoes, Amazon, whatever, online. Who's going to pay $1 million for a house or an apartment online without actually seeing it?
Yes.
And this is something I've learned. When your gut tells you to do something, even if everyone's against you, ignore them. It's the 1% that succeed, not the 99%. So we started this online sales channel. And at the time, it was on a Zoom call. Our sales for the year online were small at the time. It was around $24 million. But we saw it as an opportunity that could grow if the correct technology is introduced to it. So we created digital twins of our key projects, of our master communities. We introduced this technology in the sales process. So when the sales agent is sitting with a customer, he's not just trying to pitch him on a Zoom call with a digital brochure. He's giving him digital walkthroughs. He's showing him the property. He's allowing him to choose his finishes, etc. Our sales grew on that channel from $24 million to over $400 million last year.
Wow.
And this is after COVID is over. So people sitting in the US, Asia, without visiting Dubai, just on a means of seeing us online, are transacting $400 million. Today, we've been developing a new website with Accenture, which will go live hopefully before end of the year. And it's going to have a complete end-to-end sales journey, such that you don't even need to interact with the sales agent on a call. If you need clarifications, he will be available to assist you. But in reality, you can come online, you can do your payment, it'll be linked to bank accounts. Once you pay your token, you log into our customer portal, and you see your construction, your SPA, your payments, everything end to end. So you never have to actually deal with a person. And we're quite proud of this initiative, which we've really been at the forefront of at Damak.
That's very impressive. And to shift so quickly, to create a new source of revenue and online is very impressive. I believe the experience that you've had for the past 23 years, as you started at 10, helped you move fast as well, right?
I mean, definitely. If one thing we've learned from my dad at a very young age is you need to have the entrepreneurial spirit. Even when you're working in a large organization, think of it as a startup. Don't be intimidated by big management teams and complicated processes, etc. At Damak, we always work to simplify processes and try to keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive. Because when you lose that entrepreneurial spirit, you become low return on equity, a very boring business. And none of us in the family are interested in those boring businesses.
Well, you speak our language, and we believe in entrepreneurial spirit. It has to be embedded in everyone. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you can apply the skills of entrepreneur. You touch point on the family business, and I have a bit of a hot question for you, if you don't mind. So family businesses often face challenges across generation. You have the old culture, the new culture, and as you said, the third generation is even a different culture. So what do you think contributes to the longevity of a successful family business? And how do you apply those principles at Damak besides the entrepreneurial mindset? Do you apply this across the entire organization? And how do you do that?
So there's two different questions here, I think. One is sustainability of family businesses.
Yes.
If we're talking about sustainability of family businesses, the key point, first of all, is to make sure the family stays together. The biggest reason family businesses fail is when the next generation takes over. If they're in conflict and they end up in courts, the business stagnates. And if the business stagnates, decisions can't be taken. Your competition moves ahead, and sometimes the family will be in dispute over 5% here and 5% there, and they lose the bigger picture. And in family businesses in our regions, you're talking about billions and billions on the stake. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest reason family businesses fail in our region. And the next reason, of course, would be what I touched on, where the younger generation doesn't have the sense of the business. They don't understand the business from a young age. So when they grow older, they don't know how to manage large businesses.
And talking about siblings, I will come to my question. The family, the Sajrani family has a remarkable legacy in real estate with ventures like Damak, Amali, Pripco, and AHS properties that were created by yourself and your siblings as well. Do you see synergy or competition between your brothers and sisters?
There's healthy competition.
Okay.
And the
businesses
complement each other. Look, my father is very entrepreneurial. From a very young age, we were always put against each other to compete. And we continue to do so. But that does not mean we have a bad or negative relationship. We're happy for each other's success. When Abbas is designing a building in AHS Properties, he comes to me and Amir and we discuss ideas and layouts and finishes and designs to help enhance the design. When we were designing our island, Abbas came and helped us and said, oh, I have some customers who like this, who don't like this. Why don't you guys think of things in a certain way? So the businesses complement each other. Damak Properties is this large, well-oiled machine. It's been going for 20, 25 years, and it's really the backbone of the family. When you look at AHS Properties, it has a specific niche it focuses on. Focus on low-rise, high-end, highly customized buildings, very exclusive. Amali Properties is always waterfront living, island living, high-end villas. So each of us has our own niche that we focus on. And of course, there's competition, but also they complement each other in a large way because each of them focuses on its own little sub-market.
And who is selling the most?
Who's selling more? Damak Properties. We can't compete with my dad.
All right. I have to go back a little bit on the advice because I think this is, you've touched point on what will make and what will help build the next generation of leader. And if we have to focus on top 5 things to do to build the next generation of leader, whether it's in the family business or the next generation as a whole, what is your vision? And what would you do if you had a magic...
So I have 2 kids. Primary focus is bring them to the office at a young age. My son is 3 years old. He's in the office at least once a week. Doesn't understand. But now at home, he knows. He says, Baba, you're going to work so you can buy me toys. I need to go to work to buy toys. So you put that in their minds at a young age. Attention to detail. Don't rely on what management tells you. Go do the homework yourself, or else you will fail. Work ethic, you need to lead by example. I start my day at 5:30, 6 in the morning, and I send messages to my key team which work with me, and they get messages from me till 11:30 at night before I go to bed. My key team that works with me, the 12 people around me, they're on call 24/7, and they're highly successful. But you need to lead by example. If I was not waking up and messaging them at 6 in the morning, at 12 at night, they would get lazy. So you have to be the driving force behind the people around you.
All right. And if you have to look at what we need to look at in terms of challenges, what do you foresee?
I mean, today is very different than 30 years ago. Today, the world is a village. You're not competing with people in Dubai. You're competing with people in China, in India, in the US, in South America. It's really a global competition. You know, my father started in Abu Dhabi 20 years ago in the catering business. He was catering to one of the oil fields, and a new manager had come and taken over. So he called my dad into the office. He was an American gentleman. And he was complaining about the performance. So my father told him, Mr. Tim, I have had this contract for 3 years. It's not fair that you're so unhappy for the last 2 weeks since you've taken over. He said, Hussein, you're as good as your last meal. I don't care what you've done for 3 years. If you serve me a bad meal, you're out. And that's the teaching you need to have for your children and for the people around you. It doesn't matter if you've done great for 20 years. If you slack for a year or even a few months and you're number 1, you'll end up becoming number 2, number 3, number 4, and you fall behind. And if you're not number 1 in life, it doesn't count.
Well, this is very insightful and powerful advice as well, as the generation that is coming is completely changing the way they live, the way they consume. So sometimes they can be taking things for granted. So what you're advising is like, don't make it easy.
Don't make it easy at all.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Ali Sajwani, for this insightful session. It was incredible to hear your journey and your advice for the next generation. And thank you all for being here and listening to this session. Thank you.